Welcome to Groundhog Archaeology, a tale of bioturbation in South Philly. This presentation is part of the Philadelphia Archaeological Forum's 2021 Explore Philly Buried Past programming, and that's meant to celebrate October as Archaeology Month. I am Dr. Deirdre Kelleher, and for the next few minutes, I'm going to take you on a journey to understand how creatures and critters impact archaeological sites. And I'm going to be using the example of my own backyard in South Philadelphia. So this tale is one part archaeology and one part storytelling, so I hope you can sit back and enjoy. Now, you might be asking yourself, what is groundhog archaeology? That's a totally valid question. So perhaps you're thinking it's something that involves a precocious groundhog undertaking archaeological studies themselves. While that would be totally awesome and very whimsical, and I would absolutely watch a TV series about that, it's sadly not that. The term is actually originated at a recent Archaeological Forum meeting when I was describing to a few fellow forum members how a groundhog took up residence in my backyard and unearthed some historic ceramics, glass, nails, and more. All right, so let me give you a little bit more of the backstory. In the summer of 2020, mid-pandemic, after being mostly confined to our South Philly row house due to the coronavirus and lockdowns, my husband and I endeavored to get some fresh air and relaxation and headed to the Jersey Shore for 2 weeks. So when we left, our backyard looked like it did on the screen right there. This was taken right before we ventured out. And it was in its usual state. It was pretty lush from the spring rains, and it measures roughly 13 feet by 20 feet to give you some context. But when we returned, we found a new resident. Enter Alice, named after Alice in Wonderland as an homage to the classic novel and the rabbit hole that Alice falls down. So in a mere 2 weeks, Alice the groundhog dug holes and tunnels throughout our yard. Mind you, we live in a densely populated area of South Philly, so much of the ground cover in the vicinity of our house is asphalt and concrete or brick. And despite this, Alice was still able to find some places to burrow. Even our yard is partially covered with a concrete slab, and there were large slate stones that you might have noticed in the last photo. But Alice seized the opportunity and found areas in our yard that suited their needs. So I'm going to show you a quick clip of Alice in action, scurrying to one of their burrowing pits. There you go. I think Alice is pretty adorable. My husband disagrees. But I did learn in the context of doing some research that according to National Geographic, a groundhog's burrow can be anywhere from 8 to 66 feet long with multiple exits and numerous chambers. We only found 2 holes in our backyard, one below a cedar tree in the back, and then one that was kind of nestled behind where we were storing a fire pit. And as you can see on the bottom left, the one by the fire pit, you can see some of the dirt that Alice displaced from their burrowing. And this is really a perfect example of what archaeologists call bioturbation. So to go over the definition a little bit, distinguished geoarchaeologist Dr. Michael Waters defines bioturbation as the biological processes the processes of disturbance, and they consist of 2 things. So one is floral turbation, and those are the disturbance associated with really plant growth, so things like tree or weed roots. And the second one is faunal turbation, and this is the disturbance of sediments or context from animal or burrowing organisms. So that includes things like rodents, earthworms, and really all other animals. So my backyard is a textbook example of bioturbation. And this type of bioturbation is very common at archaeological sites everywhere. So while my yard was not a formal excavation site, it is an excellent example of how animals can displace dirt and artifacts. So on the screen, you can see a close-up of Alice's holes and some back dirt. This area was originally covered in green vines, grass, and clovers, and you can see a little bit of the greens poking out from the dirt there. And this type of disturbance that was caused by Alice and other groundhogs and fauna at large make interpreting the layers of soil at an archaeological site really tricky. Additionally, some rodent holes or animal holes can look like man-made features until further explanation, so archaeology really gets complicated by bioturbation. I didn't officially conduct an excavation, but as you can see on the screen, I did look through some of Alice's back dirt. A bunch of historic artifacts were on the surface, so I put them in a baggie and I left them out on our plant stand, so you can see the baggie here in the picture. But this is where the story takes a little bit of a turn. Alice actually stole back the artifacts. I'm not kidding at all. So the next day when I went out to the backyard, the baggie was gone. And we later caught Alice dragging a bag of potting soil across the yard, and then later on a bag of wood chips. So we deduced that it was Alice was really the cause of the missing artifacts. They took back the artifacts. We never did find the original bag of artifacts, which unfortunately had a bunch of items in it, more than what I found in the end, but I was able to find some more artifacts when we were redoing our yard. So I found a couple things of historic ceramic and bottle glass, and I plan to wash and catalog and display these items eventually, but that's really a story for a different day. To wrap up, I just wanted to share that when I was looking through my photos for this presentation, I found several more pictures of fauna in our yard, as well as on our roof, as it's the case of the raccoon. And this really just goes to show how common creatures and critters are in an urban environment, in every environment. So I hope this quick presentation highlighted how bioturbation kind of impacts and affects the work of our archaeologists, including those in city settings. So many thanks for staying tuned, and check out the sources and credits, and farewell.